top of the hour now, so I want to say welcome back to those of you who are here. I know we'll have more people coming in pretty quickly. Thank you to Andrea Bunce-Nyman and Galen Charlton for representing the developer community as well as the Evergreen Project Board and providing both the state of the project and the development update. Before we get into that, I want to thank our champion level sponsors, which are the Evergreen Collaborative Development Initiative, Midwest Tape, Equinox Open Library Initiative, Stat Courier, and Unique. And I always want to call it Unique Management just to give it a little bit longer name, but it's Unique now. So thanks to all of our champion sponsors. And I think, Andrea, are you going first? No.
I think so.
Okay, go for it.
And
let me go ahead and stop sharing my screen here.
All right. Hey, all right. Welcome to the 2025 development update. Yay. All right. I'm going to try to go through this pretty quick because Galen has some very exciting things to tell you all about. So this is my chart of releases since the previous conference. This is part 1 of that chart. Starting with the 3.13 beta last year on May 15th. And then this is page 2 of that because holy cow, y'all, we did a lot of releases. This is incredible. And then, of course, the most recent one being 3.15.0 on April 16th, just last month. And then we will be having point releases again next week for the 3.13, 14, and 15 series. I think 3.13. Yeah, 3.13 gets one more point release. All right.
That's correct.
Cool. So statistics as of this Monday. Between the 2024 and 2025 conferences, there were 869 commits in the main branch, 38 individual patch authors, and 35 evergreen releases. Please compare that to the numbers from the year before. And in case you had forgotten my slides last year, which I mean, how could you? I gave you a little chart to compare it to the year before. Because we went from like 6 to, like 18 to 36. And that is really incredible. And it speaks to a lot of great community work, organizing those releases, people participating in those releases, people fixing bugs and making sure things get tested and merged. Like, that's really cool. I'm super duper proud of everybody for that. Part of this, of course, is the Bug Squashing Week and Feedback Fests. And as ever, huge, major, eternal shout out to Taryn McKenna, who single-handedly runs that. And then, of course, people like Blake and Blake Graham Henderson of Mobius and Jason Boyer of Equinox, who run test servers, as well as Taryn herself and Tiffany Little of Pines. So these are our stats from Bug Squashing Week and Feedback Fest last year. So that, again, there were close to 1,000 bug updates and feedbacks across the 4 events that were held in the last year. That's also pretty incredible. Bug Squashing Week and Feedback Fest participants, yes, this is still in alphabetical order by first name. I don't know, come at me, bro. This is 64 individuals, and I did not alphabetize it by first name just so I would be first. I am probably the least important person on this list. And plus 2 groups that I want to acknowledge, the Collaborative Code Review group, which meets Monday afternoons, and then the New Developers group, which meets the first Wednesday of the month, second Wednesday of the month. Somebody correct me on that, because they also take a look collectively at things in a group setting, and it's a great way to get feedback on your code. It's a great way to interact with other developers, and they've really had a lot to do with the success of getting things into Evergreen. Third Wednesday. Thank you, Taryn. The New Devs group meets the 3rd Wednesday of the month. And new contributors. Tiffany Little of GPLS was nominated to be a core committer. Core committers are those who have been entrusted by fellow Evergreen committers. It is a peer nominated position, so only new committers choose other new committers who have the ability to write directly to the Evergreen code repository fully, not just with docs, but all of the code. So it is a good estimation of Tiffany's technical ability and her contributions, and all of what she has brought to Evergreen. So many congratulations to Tiffany. We also had some first commits to Evergreen in the last year. I gotta fact check this one because my stats said that, Ruth, this is your first code commit ever to Evergreen was in the last year. Is that correct?
100%. Yep.
Awesome. Go you.
I'm an administrator.
No, I would have thought that first commit would have been forever ago, but
Nope.
congratulations to Ruth. Alberto Martinez, Ian Skalski of Bibliomation has perhaps been our most impactful new developer. He has, I think, about 10 or 12 commits under his belt for the last year. And then the mysterious KDandy1, who has only identified themselves as such in Git. So if anybody knows who this is, let me know, or KDandy1, you can continue to remain anonymous. So release teams for 3.14 in October 2024. The release manager was my beloved colleague Ruth Davis, and then the release team was the intrepid combination of Blake Graham Henderson. Sorry, I will edit that to put the hyphen in your name. Jason Stevenson, Josh Stompro, and Jessica Wolford. And then 3.15 was me against my better judgment as the release manager, aided and abetted by Ruth Davis, Martha Driscoll, Jason Etheridge, Llewellyn Marshall, and Gina Monty. And special shout out to Galen Charlton, Jane Sandberg, and others who helped us with various builds and things like that. I know it is Graham-Henderson. I trust me, I get annoyed when people do me as Bunce-Nyman because I'm not. I will fix it. I'm sorry. Sheesh. Chris Sharp is coming for me this week, I swear. All right, Evergreen 3.14 recap. Themes of 3.14 were OPAC accessibility and usability and modernization. So some of the highlights for that were Angular record buckets and Angular self-checkout, multi-factor authentication for staff accounts, and infrastructure improvements, including updates to Ubuntu and Postgres. A lot of these can be seen in my in the Ruth and Andrea show that went up earlier today, and it will be up. The recording will be up, and the slides will be up, and all of that. Also, release notes are linked there. And then 3.15. 3.15 was more about admin tooling and catalog updates. So, of course, there is the RESTful API suite deserving all of your flailing Kermit GIFs. The OPAC alerts now controllable in the interface. I will also fix that typo. And updates to item alerts, notes, tags, templates, and the holding editor. And again, you can see more about these at the recording of the Ruth and Andrea show when that goes up. And then there's the release notes for 3.15. Hackaway last year was held the second week of November, hosted by CW Mars and Noble in Beverly, Mass. It was at lovely Endicott College. There were 25 attendees in person. Many others joined us online from across the US, Canada, and Europe. We had some really excellent discussions about some infrastructure upgrades, the technical needs and tooling of the project, and plans for Evergreen 4.0 that was scheduled for later in 2025. I did mean to put a picture on this slide of us at the Prince-themed speakeasy that we all visited at the behest of Kathy Lucier, which was also really fun and a delight. I will, since I got to go make a bunch of corrections to these slides anyway, I'll go ahead and toss that picture up there. Stats I have linked there, but in general, this is the bug work that was done, but Hackaway is about so much more than just getting bug work done. It's about getting a bunch of people in a physical virtual room together who know what they're doing, who really care about the larger picture of Evergreen, where it's going, what it's doing, and a lot gets done, and we have a lot of fun too. 2025 Hackaway, Debbie teased this in her lightning talks, but we're very pleased to announce that Mobius is going to be hosting the 2025 Hackaway in Columbia, Missouri, home to, of course, many Evergreen libraries. So there's going to be a lot more information about that forthcoming, but we're looking forward to being in Missouri this fall for Hackaway. So once dates are available, please put that on your calendars. So compared to last year, here's what I think we have improved. Release tempo and monthly releases keep improving. As you saw from my graphic, it was 35 versus 18 versus 6. That's incredible. We've also had a lot more participation from new release team members. A lot of people have been stepping up, stepping outside of their comfort zones, and learning these processes. So it's now no longer in the hands of 2 or 3 people. There's a lot more people learning how to do this, a lot more documentation of the process. And I'm really proud of everyone who has stepped up and out of their comfort zone in the last couple of years to help with the release process and take more ownership of that. Again, I have to really shout out the weekly code review meetings and the monthly new developers meetings. These were things that 2-3 years ago, either did not exist or existed in very proto form, and the respective leaders of those have done an incredible job, making sure that is democratizing kind of access to code review, giving people opportunities to learn from each other, to discuss these things. And I think that that has had a huge impact in the amount of stuff we've been able to get done. And yes, I should call them out. Jane Sandberg, Taryn McKenna, thank you so much for leading those groups. Also, strategic planning. This is something that if you attended the session yesterday about the strategic plan, the Evergreen Project Board has adopted a 2025 to 2028 strategic plan. The implementation of this is currently underway, the very earliest phases of that, which is bylaws updates. You got to do the boring stuff before you can do the fun stuff. But that's a huge, important step for the community, and it represents a lot of work by a lot of people. Led up or headed up by Ruth Davis, but also a ton of other community members who and other people who worked on that. So thank you for that. Here's where I think we need more improvement. You will note that the first 3 bullets were on my slides last year. Again, if you're doing a side-by-side comparison of these, which really you should be, that is still the same 3 things. This is my opinion. I still think that we can continue to improve there. The last one, though, is something that I have thought about a lot. I know that this came up at Hackaway. I know that this is something that I just talked about in my lightning talk, but I really strongly feel that better tooling can equal better automation. A lot of this is currently maintained on separate spreadsheets by individuals. There's a lot of hidden invisible labor that goes on here on the part of a lot of members of this community. That is really not a scalable model. It's already something that, again, I alluded to in my lightning talk about how, we're not sure like who to go to for what. Well, some of that can be automated by better tooling. And I think that's something that we should seriously consider as a community going into this next year. So here is your obligatory cat slide. Let's keep glowing up, just like Brutus, my house cat, who was a barn cat. And, he had his 3-year strategic plan was to move into my house, and he has executed that. And that's all I got. Congrats, guys, on a really good year.
Thank you, Andrea. And Galen, are you prepared to start sharing your things? Do you have things to share? On mute.
Yes, thank you. I do have things to share. This would be a very poor Evergreen project without sharing. So,
but we listen to you, so it'd be okay.
One moment, I got my screen shared. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for coming to listen to me talk about some of the organizational and administrative updates of the Evergreen project. My name is Galen Charlton. I am the Implementation and IT Manager at the Equinox Open Library Initiative. I'm also the current and outgoing chair of the Evergreen Project's board. So, with respect to where we stand with the project, if we first talk about project accomplishments. What you have in this slide is, in effect, a recap of what Andrea just largely mentioned during the development update. So reiteration and repetition is key to retention. So you all now have no excuse for not remembering Evergreen 3.14 and 3.15, as well as the numerous maintenance releases. And the strategic plan and membership model. More about those in a moment. But I think one of the key things is that while the Evergreen software is unparalleled in its ability to support libraries and especially resource sharing consortia, the strength of the Evergreen project is ultimately rooted not in the software, but in its people. And so I'm very happy to point out that we've had a significant growth in the libraries using Evergreen in the past year since the 2024 conference. So this is a combination of add-ons, libraries joining existing consortiums, as is the case with CW Mars, Evergreen Indiana, Missouri Evergreen, NC Cardinal, and Spark, the Pennsylvania Consortium. But it also represents the addition of libraries who, as a group or individually, have started entirely new Evergreen systems. So that includes Cape Fear Community College, as well as a large set of community colleges in North Carolina. So kudos to all of you for making the choice to adopt Evergreen, and I look forward to the new voices in the community. Now, one thing I should point out is editorial deadlines are a thing. So what I'm showing you is a copy of a page from the annual report. But since time and tide wait for no library, there are also some libraries who've implemented Evergreen really recently that I would like to give a shout out to. So this includes SoCo, the Southeastern Libraries Cooperating in Minnesota, who adopted Evergreen or went live on Evergreen in April. And a special kudos to anybody from SoCo who happens to be at this conference. Please congratulate yourself, and please consider taking a good nap afterwards. But also another add-on for Pennsylvania, the Northampton Area Public Library. And of course, if I've missed anybody, I apologize. But I should also mention this as kind of an Ollie Oxenfree, that if you are at this conference and recently adopted Evergreen, or if you are later listening to the recording of this, please let us know. Please join the community. Please do things like join the project Natalie and Liz. And even more exciting, Elizabeth Davis just mentioned in chat another library who will be joining. Oh, pardon me. No, in fact, I made a mistake and missed Lansdale. So thank you for correcting me there, Elizabeth. But also, I know of at least one other library in Michigan who will be going live shortly. So, I had mentioned the annual report. So this is a thing that is now available. You can go to the link I provided to view both the 2024 annual report as well as previous iterations of the annual report. And I would like to give a shout out to the outreach committee as a whole for shepherding the annual report, but also a particular shout out to Rogan Hamby for many years of service in terms of shepherding the annual report and ensuring that happens year after year. So please download the link, please read the annual report, please catalog it, and please continue to do awesome things that we can write about in this report. So moving on to more administrative pieces. As Andrea mentioned just now, and as was discussed in more detail in a presentation yesterday, in January, the Evergreen project adopted a strategic plan that included a component of shifting the project over to a membership model, where individuals and institutions would be able to financially support the project by joining it, as well as through a contributor program. Individuals can gain membership through making substantive contributions to the project. So the membership model will mean several important things for Evergreen. For one thing, it changes some of the governance expectations for the project board to include direct member election of Evergreen project board members. At the moment, the Evergreen project board is technically self-sustaining, with each board electing the next board, albeit following the results of the annual election polls that are run. But with the membership model, this will become more direct. It will be a direct election of members of the project board. And the strategic plan implementation committee has been working on bylaws revisions in conjunction with the Evergreen project's attorney. We're pretty close to having a finalized set of bylaws that will be reviewed by the upcoming board at tomorrow's meeting and likely adopted in June. But then after that, there will be yet more work to actually implement the membership model. So that will include things like bookkeeping changes, setting up a members database, and the like. And there will be further updates coming soon, as well as likely opportunities to give feedback. And I want to emphasize the importance of the feedback. The membership model is meant to be more than just paying some money each year. It's meant to encourage greater community involvement in a governance. So please consider joining, and attending board meetings. Please take advantage of any opportunities to ask questions about the membership model, and if you had been under the impression that the Evergreen project board was just off doing its own thing, this is an opportunity to consider paying attention again. The project board needs you, yes, you, to help shape the governance of the project. And thank you, Andrea, for posting the link with the coordinates of tomorrow's board meeting. I will also like to mention that if you are a member of the Evergreen community and you've been inclined to want to contribute, but you don't program, you don't, you know, necessarily feel comfortable writing documentation and so on. One of the consequences of the new membership model is I expect there will be more opportunities for volunteering on the administrative side. So please keep that in mind if you've been wondering, how can I help out, but weren't in a position to necessarily work on the code or the documentation. So one of the reasons why we adopted the strategic plan and are adopting the membership model has to do with project finances. So first, to mention where we are, as of the last formal treasurer's report in April, we have a tick under $170,000 in current assets. There will be another updated report for the board meeting tomorrow. Some of the accomplishments on the finance side include the project creating and adopting an investment policy. And as of this year, the project is now earning a little bit of money passively through investments in short-term certificates of deposit, as well as earning a bit of interest from a money market account. And this has been a great change since from previous years where, especially during the COVID era, there were legitimate concerns that the inability to do an in-person conference could damage the project finances. So we're doing well. I want to give a shout out to Evergreen project treasurer Katie Greenleaf Martin for the work that she's done in the investment policy and helping to keep us fiscally strong. But one of the things to bear in mind is that historically it's been the conferences that have been the primary source of income for the project as a 501c3. So the membership model will give us different ways to raise revenue and to maintain them on an ongoing basis. Because, of course, ultimately, the point of doing all this is not for us to sit on a pile of gold as if we were Smaug the dragon. What we collect will be invested in the project itself, both in direct improvements to the software and its documentation. So, for example, the accessibility conformance reports that we have been commissioning in recent years are have been paid through via project funds. But there's also much more that we could be doing to expand the project and to strengthen its administrative support. So, money matters, and it's something that I encourage all the community members to keep an eye on, both to hold the board accountable, but as well to help guide the discussions about how best to use the project's fiscal resources. So I next want to give a shout out to the current and outgoing board. The switchover will take place at the board meeting tomorrow. So Andrea Nyman, Eli Nyberger, Jeanette Lundgren, Joe Knuven or Niven, Katie Greenleaf Martin, Lindsay Stratton, Ruth Davis, and Susan Morrison. My thanks to each of you for work this year with a lot to deal with and a lot thrown at us. I also want to thank Dan Moore of King County and Kate Coleman from Missouri for also having served on the board during the past year. So I mentioned a changeover. So here's the new Evergreen Project Board. Andrea returning, Courtney Brown from Evergreen, Indiana, Donna Bacon from Mobius, Eli from Ann Arbor, Jeanette returning, Katie returning, Lindsay returning, Michael Schell from Fort Erie Public Library in Ontario, and Susan Morrison from Georgia Public Library Service. So again, I encourage everybody to who's at all interested in project governance to join me in attending Evergreen board members as just a plain old committee member, since, as I mentioned, I'm outgoing. But also take advantage of opportunities to participate in interest groups as well as project committees. So, in terms of upcoming events, definitely want to mention the project board meeting again. And this is going to be a theme that I'll be harping on. But also echoing the announcement of the 2025 Hackaway, which will be held in Columbia, Missouri, with Mobius as the local host. And please keep an eye out for a poll that will be forthcoming shortly to try to identify a date for the event. But roughly speaking, we can expect it to be held sometime in the fall of this year. And of course, one of the really exciting events that are coming up will be our next conference, which will be in person in Seattle. And as you can see there, from the image, there will be convenient opportunities both to swim and to borrow a newly constructed airplane for some flight scene. Many thanks to the King County Library System for acting as a local host and doing awesome work getting this iteration of the conference bootstrapped. I will note that the hotel is accepting reservations now. Please consider booking rooms early and often. This will be a bigger conference, very ambitious, and I will take board president privilege to point out that if King County is able to arrange tours of their materials sorting facility, I highly encourage you to consider taking that tour. It's kind of an amazing setup they have going on. BJ, the question about introductions to Bigfoot, I will leave entirely to you, to your field. So anyway, what I want to say now is, quoting myself from something that's in the annual report, is, I do think we have to acknowledge that times, currently are quite challenging for many libraries who are members of the Evergreen community. And of course, the software itself can't do much to help. But the real strength of the Evergreen project is us, the people in its community. And I encourage us all to work together, to come together in these challenging times, and to help each other solve our problems and improve services to patrons, or at the very least muddle along together. So the key thing to remember, if nothing else, from this presentation is that our strength is in us, the people of this community, and working together, will help us, serve our aims and help serve our patrons. So thank you very much for your time and attention. So at this point, if you have any questions whatsoever, either about project affairs or anything at the TEP board level, I'm all ears.
I have not seen any questions go through chat. I think you can probably see chat pretty well as well. And I want to reiterate or emphasize what Galen and Andrea both mentioned about involvement and opportunities for involvement in the community. I started my active participation in the community about 4 years after I began using the Evergreen software in a public library setting, and then had become a library director, wanted to be more involved in the consortial affairs of the consortium I was part of, which led to becoming more involved in the international community and the conference. And I had a bit of an epiphany moment in 2013. The conference was in Vancouver, which I guess is a place to be inspired. And it has led to everything that has followed in my life professionally. And there are names that you see bandied around in the community a lot. And that started from me working in a rural Indiana public library with a small service area. And I love that that is something that's possible in this community. It is only possible because of other community members and how they mentor and encourage and uplift. And we are always so enthusiastic, maybe overly at times, to have people at any level of skill or interest become more involved in the Evergreen project as an organization and the Evergreen community at large. So come on, it's fun. And we have jokes, so many jokes.
Yeah, and one of the benefits is that the in-jokes can become yours, and we will not only explain them to you, but help you work with us to craft more.
Yes, they are iterative jokes oftentimes. So thank you to Andrea and to Galen for sharing with us. We have more sessions coming up at 4 p.m. Let me check. I am time blind at this point. 4 p.m. Eastern time, 3 p.m. Central time, and 1 p.m. Pacific time. I can't do the conversion over into the Czech Republic without having a calculator, which I don't. Check out the expo if you have an opportunity. There are also some open rooms for developers and documenters in the in between times, or just chat in the lobby. But we will see you at the 4 p.m. sessions. Thank you all.